And welcome to the Barry Foster Show, coming to you from the beautiful Ridge Flora Studios in the City of Charm, Avon Park. I'd like to remind you, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions for the program, people you'd like us to interview, subjects you'd like us to talk about, just put them in the comments below, and we'll get to them as we can. I also want to remind you that if you would like to subscribe to this channel, you just hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a dime. Some people think subscriptions cost money. Well, not here. It comes at no additional charge. We have another Florida Fun Travel episode today with my beautiful wife, Sandra. And we're going to be talking about a place up in Lake Alfred that we went. It's called Port 27. We went up there the first time, and it was rather a disaster. The first time was in the evening, and the place was just packed.
On the weekend.
It was on the weekend. And people were pouring in. And we would have had to walk maybe a quarter of a mile, a half a mile to get up to the front, you think?
It was a very rough parking lot, and not an easy walk. At
and
least
dirty.
Someone who was in shoes that were not meant for outdoor trekking and climbing.
If you wore your nice shoes, they might get dirty. Well, they did have valet parking if you wanted to park up somewhat close. You could pay for your car to be parked. We didn't choose to do that. We went around, and we would have been in the back of the second lot, and so we decided to say heck with it and didn't do it. So we vowed to come back next time. The second time we came back was late morning, early afternoon, and it was a lot less populated.
Sort of before the 12 o'clock noon time, and yet there were people out there. It's somewhat like reminds you somewhat of the beach areas over on the coast.
Well, it's right, I think, on the shores of Lake Hamilton. It's kind of a compound. It's a bunch of different buildings that are set up in kind of a square with the fourth wall being a little beach area that has a place for children to play. There's a couple of boats, kind of structures that they can play on, and there's sand, and I think one of those games that you can drop the checkers in and try to make 6 in a row, that kind of thing. So there's kind of a fun place, but around the outside is where the buildings are. I will tell you that they spent a lot of money on landscaping.
Quite a lot. It's beautiful. A lot of plants, green plants, flowering plants. It is a total, very expensive makeover in there. You've got a lot of boardwalk places and different areas, designated different areas with some had red umbrellas over the tables, and you would have the very...
It was rather set up for outdoor dining, where you could go to any one of these little places that they had to eat and get some of your food and come and set it outside. We didn't, because the day we were there was at the end of July, and it was very warm.
Well, they had the red umbrella tables. They had dark blue or black umbrella tables. They had some white and then some regular, more like medium blue umbrellas. They had...
they were kind of grouped. They had little groupings where you could
gray
come in.
Ones. Yes, the color of the umbrella sort of designated different seating areas. Some of them were like picnic tables, and others were metal chairs that were very glossy metal apple red setup. It was beautiful. It was very beautiful. It reminded me of that place in Fort Myers Beach, that new place that they set up after the hurricanes down there on the ocean. It was like they were trying to, it is as though they're trying to mimic some of the ocean setups.
Mm-hmm. They have it. each of the little areas is set up rather like a small neighborhood, and they have different designations. Like there's Art Alley, and there's Oasis Alley that they have set up. There's Beer Alley. I mean, you can go down each one of the little. I hesitate to call it a street exactly, but it's kind of like a mall area.
It was a boardwalk type thing, and then some of it stepped down, which for someone who wasn't really stable on their feet or someone handicapped, I think some of that step downs could be kind of scary. But they had areas that had multiple layers as you went through the boardwalk, and then down toward the water they had a huge sandbox area for kids with toys in there, and then they had some. There were some boats that were kind of docked there on the beach, and then people sitting out there in lawn chairs with beach umbrellas.
It looked like some of the places we've been to on the Gulf, where you can ride your boat in to come and eat and do things. So if you're out there on Lake Hamilton, you could ride your craft in, or you can drive in on your car. They did have jet skis for rental out there, so if that's the kind of thing that you enjoy, you can do and do that. There were some families sitting out there watching the kids play. They had music. The first thing when we came in, you're greeted by this sign telling you all the things you can and cannot do, like they can't bring any outside food in, and you can't have any firearms in there, and there's no unauthorized events going in. I don't know if that means you can't have a birthday party or what, but there's no unauthorized events. And one thing they said, there was no professional photographers allowed. So we took a bunch of pictures, but I don't think we're professionals. I have yet to get paid for any of the pictures that I've taken. So we went in there and took a bunch of pictures. When you first come in, at least where we first came in, there's a general store. There's a place called the Crow's Nest, which apparently is a record store. There's a little art gallery there. And they had announced that there's some things that are coming soon. They're going to have a spa. They're going to have a boathouse and some other things. But a lot of the stuff they had already open was the food. They had the Vanderwall coffee roasters and artisan chocolate shop that was set up. They had a little a string of I don't know. They kind of looked like railroad cars, but they had crepes and waffles. They had seafood. They had tacos.
Well, they're more like food trucks.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're about the size of a food truck.
Yeah.
And you eat, as you said, outside at some of these different tables that are set up. But I was told that we went to they have a burger bar there, which has all different kinds of burgers. You know, they have there's a lot of signature stuff like the Port 27 burger they had there, but they had hot hamburgers and cheeseburgers and bacon cheeseburgers. They had buffalo parm wings, and you could have taken that and gone inside like the pizza parlor that they had. It's not a pizza parlor. What do they call it? They call it a trattoria, but it's an Italian trattoria with all different kinds of pizzas. But it was nice. It was very air conditioned in there. It was very cool. And I said I wasn't up for a burger because I couldn't eat it in the heat. And they said, well, you can take it inside anything that you buy there on the property. Apparently, you can take it into any of the restaurants and eat inside.
And it was rather pricey, I thought. But then, of course, somebody has to pay for the beautiful landscaping.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it was like you were out of town. It was not like you were in this part of Florida. You had the feel of like Margaritaville in down there at Fort Myers, where they came in and built that whole thing and sort of isolated it. It was you had. It's like a getaway away from. And when you went in there, you were kind of like in there for a while.
Yeah, you're kind of everything in there is in there. Like this Antica Trattoria pizza has and they have delis there too. But the pizzas range between $16 and $23. and they have all different kinds of, and some cold pressed sandwiches. They have salads there. Yes, they have a Port 27 salad. They've signatured a lot of the stuff that they had in there. The burgers run between I think between $11 and $16 for one of the burgers. They have a hot dog place there with all different kinds of hot dogs. They have an ice cream store. They have a lot of bars. If you like to drink,
Well, they had a brewery where they were actually brewing.
I think that's where the tap bar was. They have the observatory bar. They have a tiki bar. Yeah, and that Trattoria's got a brewery in there. Yes, and so there's a lot of places. There's a lot of things to see. It is for Polk County. Would you call it upscale? I would say it's upscale.
It's very upscale, I think, and the prices that he's quoting on the pizzas and the burgers were, of course, the bottom line. It wasn't if you got any of their real burgers, which most people would have ended up choosing if you were there for an actual meal, would have been, quite a bit more than that. But they had ice cream, they had barbecue, they had just about anything that, food-wise, and more was scheduled or is scheduled to come. They're still building on it, and it's a big place already. But you have all these little hanging gardens, even of the greenery on a wall there, and then you had a little pit where you went down to sort of like a small pond area that had all kinds of animals in it. It was almost like a petting zoo, except some of the critters that were in there I wouldn't want to pet.
I would tell you that they would prefer to call it, I think, a sunken garden. They had flagstones in there. The greenery, I have to admit, was very well taken care of. They had. It looks like that they have professional gardeners. It reminded me of kind of the way Cypress Gardens used to be. That when we would go in early in the morning, I had a friend that worked there, and as we would go in the morning, there were crews of guys taking out plants that weren't really that good and putting fresh plants in there. So when you went into Cypress Gardens, everything was beautiful. And when we went into this Port 27, I have to admit, everything was beautiful. And it was all brand new.
It's worth a walk through at a less crowded time of the day just to see the scenery and just to see all this beautiful greenery and, hanging vines and stuff on a wall. It was gorgeous as far as the plants were concerned, and the little sunken garden area with the pond. It was lovely.
We didn't get a chance to go in the stores, but there's a soap and candle store, which if you like aromas, I'm sure is quite aromatic. Not all of us do. They have a vintage studio with different kinds of clothes in there. As I said, they had a record store in there. There's some dry goods stores that have some material as well as the food shops.
Yes, it just did remind me that they're trying to create something that looks like around the area there in Fort Myers Beach. As you come in there around the town square spot and go down to those little shops and
if you like
the beach areas.
If you're going to take somebody for a date, it'd be a great place to go on a date because they have a nice vista out over the lake where you can sit under one of these umbrella tables. I'll probably go to one of these beer places and get yourself some beer. In fact, the Burger Bar, one of their big things on the chalkboard was ice cold beer, and get you a burger, get you a pizza or whatever. They have a taco wagon, you can get tacos and sit under this and look out over the lake. And they've also got this giant swing where you could put two people, maybe three if they're not that big, but two people on this swing and kind of rock back and forth lazily and watch out over the lake. When we were there, they did not have live music, but I understand that having bands or having a troubadour with a guitar is something they do of an evening on a regular basis. So there is live entertainment there, but again, it's an interesting experience. But as you say, you better bring your walking shoes.
Well, it was really like a certain section of it was like a beach experience again when you go either to the East Coast or to the Gulf, and you go down and go to the beach and spread out your towels and stretch out there. There were people sitting on the beach that way, but because you're not supposed to bring in food and drinks and that sort of thing, it wouldn't be exactly like going to the beach experience.
Oh no, you buy the food and drinks there.
That's
You know,
right.
everything once you come in, and I understand that, you know, that
Well, they put out a lot of money. You can easily see. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's worth taking a look at it, and I would suggest going sometime in the morning, about the time they open, 10:30 or so, before the lunch crowd comes in, and certainly not on a weekend, because it was so crowded, and it was probably 5:30 or so that it was getting parked out and so crowded.
we were there before 6, and I thought, well, you know, how many people can be here? And I found out how many people could be there. But yeah, we went in the late morning, and one of the places, I think it's called Juice It, but they had breakfast combos out there. They had the avocado toast, and they had bagels, and the combo was like you'd get avocado toast and an apple or chips with a drink, like coffee or something, kind of on the same order of the combos that you get at the Panera Bread, for instance.
And a juice bar. They had a juice bar.
Yeah, that
where
juice
you
and
could
juice
get
bar.
smoothies and that sort of thing.
And the breakfast combos for like avocado toast went between $13 and $16, you know, so I would expect a lot of avocado toast for that.
Not probably too terribly different than some places like First Watch, and some of them, their avocado toast breakfast and stuff can be.
And we were there during a weekday, and we did not experience a lot of consumerism going on. Like, we were there early enough in the morning. The ice cream shop was not open, although as warm as it was at the end of July, I would have been enticed for some mid-morning ice cream, I think, you know, because it was pretty warm out there. But there's a lot of families, like I say, watching their kids play, and you could walk up there, and because there was no valet parking, I didn't realize you're the one that pointed out we could have parked up there where the valet parking was because the signs weren't out, you know. So we could have parked a little bit closer if we wanted to, but our goal was kind of walk through there and get a feel for what it was like. Yeah, I just a couple of things. It was warm. We were walking around. I kind of regret that we didn't go in, at least into the record store. I would like to go in and see what they had inside.
Well,
the
we
crow's
can always
nest.
go back.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, is you can always go back and have a look around. Another thing that they had all around was they had this kind of I don't want to call it a trash can exactly, but there was a trash receptacle, and they had a place where you could put your pizza boxes. So if you'd gone to the this Trattoria Pizza and gotten one of their pizzas, you could then put the box in, and they would pick it up later. But they had, of course, they had the Port 27 branded pizza. But one of the ones I thought was very interesting was they had one with vodka sauce, which I would like to try try just a slice of one of those, see what that tasted like. But it was a little early in the day. Another thing that I wish we could have gone into was the art gallery, and I didn't know whether that was local. When you go to their website, there is a lot of promotional stuff, but when I went and looked, I couldn't find like a map that showed what was where. I couldn't find much straight up information about the place. It's the kind of place that if you want to find out what it's like, you kind of really have to just go.
And actually, it is very new, and they've opened it up before it is completed and before it is a real completed thing. But I have not been to anything quite like this in this area. It really, when you go in, it's like you're going into a closed area. You're not just going to the beach, and you can walk up and down the beach for a long way. Or
there's a place like this in Lakeland, and I don't know what it's called, but you and I have been there. There was a soda shop that held like 1,000 different kinds of sodas. There was a movie house. There was restaurants. There were little shops, and it was set up like a little 1950s town, And that's the way this is. This is
but that wasn't on a beach.
No, that wasn't on a beach. But I mean, the layout is much the same thing, where the stores and the restaurants are set up in a town situation where everything is once you get in, everything's within easy walking distance. And it's kind of like, I guess, an outdoor mall is what you'd say, is all the stores and restaurants are right there within easy walking distance. And there are places to sit and relax and enjoy yourself. And they said, don't bring it. No, you can't play any other music than what's being played on their speakers in there. It's a Disney-like enclosed environment. You go in there and experience it for what it is. They would like you to just experience what they put out for you, and you don't bring anything extra in. So, but we might go back again in another couple of months. There's 2 or 3 buildings that still are under construction, and they were working pretty hard on them.
I think that that's exactly what we have to do, is to go again after they've gotten the construction completed. But one of the things I liked was they did have one of the little restaurants that had an upstairs seating area, and I do like being...
That was on top of the bar, yeah.
I like being up high like that, and you could then look over their beach area and look over a lot of the courtyard there. But it is separated. The buildings kind of make petitions between the different sections. It's really a unique experience that you would have to go and just walk through it and see it. And even if you're not up for going there at night for a date, or going there for actually to go out to eat or whatever, it is certainly worth the walk through just to see. It's very lovely, and I can see that it's going to be more and more and more crowded as time goes along.
Especially as the temperatures cool off and our friends from the Great Industrialized North come back down. So we'll have to go back again and give you another report. So, but it was fun. It's Port 27. It's on Highway 27, just I think it's north of Lake Hamilton and south of Haines City. And you'll find it there. It is on the west-hand side of the road.
Well, if you look to the left there as you go toward Haines City, you can't miss it. I mean, it's a big thing, and they have large signage out front. And I have a feeling that they're going to have to expand their parking area, and that they're going to have to do something more to it because it was rather rough.
We'll take a look at that. So, and if you've been to Port 27, we'd sure like to hear your comments. Just put them in the comments below and let us know what you thought of Port 27 when you're there. We just, for another edition of Florida Fun Travel, this is Barry Foster, my lovely wife Sandra, and we'll see you next time.